topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Churchill said, "Those who fail to learn from history are condemned to repeat it." Kevin Hallinan believes that certainly applies to business. Welcome to Winning Business Radio, here at W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. And now, your host, Kevin Hallinan.
Thanks for joining in, everybody, today. This is Kevin Hallinan, and welcome back to another episode of Winning Business Radio, now Winning Business TV, live streaming, as well as on W4CY.com, at Facebook, link YouTube, lots of places. Hey, the mission, I can talk. Let's try it again. The mission of Winning Business Radio and TV, as regular listeners know, is to offer insights and advice to help people avoid the mistakes of others. To learn best practices, the how-tos, the what-tos, the what-not-tos, and certainly, and I say hopefully, to be inspired by the successes of others. But it's interesting that every successful person I've ever had a chance to talk to has had some form of failure, whether minor or major, in their careers and lives. And so, listen, we all have to get our knees skinned once in a while. I say every week, my job is to help those minor scrapes from needing major surgery. Let's endeavor to learn from history so we don't repeat it. Today, my guest is Danny Schuman. He's writer, marketing strategist, brand storyteller, and founder and head twister at Twist. Here's his bio. Danny Schuman helps brands of any size and in any category clearly and consistently tell their story and differentiate from competitors. Danny's key points of difference. He comes from a creative agency background, having spent 25 years writing, creative directing, and producing marketing campaigns that generated incredible results in market and helped build iconic brands like Quaker Oatmeal, Coors Light, and Gatorade. He and Michael Jordan, I'll get this right, started working on Gatorade on the same day. Michael called Danny Peanut Butter Jelly Boy, but that's a story for another time. Actually, Danny, it's a story for today because I'm going to ask you about that. He founded marketing and innovation consultancy Twist in January 2009. His deep creative background helps him write sharp insights, tight strategies, and create big ideas and produce smart and engaging content to tell great stories that make that thinking tangible. Twist has successfully partnered with B2B and B2C businesses and big and small businesses to help them tell their stories. His experience spans not-for-profits like Giving Rocks Foundation and Learning Bridge Early Education Center, and Fortune 500 companies like PepsiCo, Miller Coors, and Mars. Danny is a creative entrepreneur who teaches classes and facilitates workshops on branding and positioning. He also mentors entrepreneurs at Tech Incubator 1871, Polsky Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at the University of Chicago, Northwestern University's Garage, and the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. His book, The Worst Business Model in the World, A New Kind of Guide for a New Kind of Entrepreneur, serves as a roadmap for current and aspiring entrepreneurs and was a #1 bestseller on Amazon. He gets notes from people in places like Sydney and London saying things like, "I feel like you wrote this book just for me," which is why he wrote the book in the first place. Danny earned his bachelor's degree in political science from the University of Michigan and holds multiple coaching certifications. He lives in the Chicago suburb of Wilmette with his wife, Wendy, and their 12-year-old lab mix, Nola, and their, his words, not mine, psychotic Siamese cat, Frankie. They have 2 adult children. Sarah is 27 and Joey is 24. Danny, welcome to Winning Business Radio.
Hey, Kevin. It's great to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, I really appreciate you making the time.
It's great to be here.
So let's start with Wendy. Tell us about your wife of probably more than a couple of years.
Wendy, of 30 years, 30? A couple months ago. Yeah, Wendy is a stylist. If you've heard of the store Anthropology,
yeah,
it's a national store. She is the stylist at our local Anthropology here outside of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
If back in the days when we actually go out of our house every once in a while, every time I would get dressed, she would lovingly give me the old kind of like the up and down once over, just to make sure that there was like no horrible mishaps in my outfit. and occasionally there were.
The joke in our house is, "You're not going out looking like that." Huh?
Yeah, something like that. Usually she doesn't even have to say anything anymore
Yeah.
after 30 years.
You can just judge it from the facial expression, right?
But we are happily empty nested now for several
Nice.
years,
Nice.
and we're kind of easing into our gray hair years, and kind of mostly bliss and happiness.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Now you have to tell us about Sarah and Joey.
Sarah and Joey are two awesome young adults. Sarah's a 27-year-old. Both of them went into the business, but then neither of them went into the business. And when I say the business, it's marketing. You know, those of us marketing folks always say about our kids, like, do your kids go into the business? And so the business would be like an ad agency. And so they are both marketing adjacent. So Sarah, who's 27, works for an ad tech company called Gum Gum. If you ask me exactly what she did, I would have to kind of sort of make it up because I don't really understand exactly what she does. But suffice to say, you know those ads you get on the side of the Google page once you've been looking for furniture and then you get served new ads for furniture?
Right.
Gum Gum basically helps companies find their best target audiences in the best places at the best times. And so they're a licensed product to big companies. They just got a $95 million investment from Goldman Sachs.
Wow.
So they're buying companies.
Nice.
It's a very strong and great company on their way up. And she's doing great there. And Joey sells weed.
Clarify that.
Okay, so Joey, so I just always have to stop there.
I mean, it's
Joey,
legit nowadays, right?
Joey is 24 years old. He works in the cannabis business
Mhm.
for a company called Cresco Labs here in Chicago. It's a pretty large cannabis company. They grow, they sell, they have retail locations, they sell online, or I don't think you can sell online, but they have websites. It's an insanely growing business. It's a great company. It's a little bit of a startup culture, even though they've been around for, I think, a dozen years or so, or 10 years. But as are all cannabis businesses, the rules and regulations change on an hourly, not minute by minute basis. And I think they're always trying to respond and recover and just kind of roll with the punches. So in the 2 years that he's been there, he's gotten kind of an unofficial MBA, just kind of doing anything and everything that's asked for him. He's a creative guy who's been like helping to write legal contracts.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's basically just all hands on deck all the time.
Kids, don't try this at home, right?
Do not try this at home. Just trust an expert, which apparently he is in writing contracts, even though he's never had 1 second of education on it.
Wow.
So both of our kids live in Chicago, not too far from us, which is nice. We get to see them. And we like to go out for a cocktail with them every once in a while, which is kind of fun to do with your children.
Nice. So what were your interests when you were young?
Sports and words. I mean, those are really the two. You know, I've been a writer my whole life, and I say I have emerged from the womb as a writer somehow. My parents and my grandparents were readers. They were avid readers. They were kind of lovers of language, and so there was always books in our house. There was always just arts and books and kind of like letters. So. I grew up being read to, and my kids grew up with me reading to them. So growing up, I was into books. I was into writing of any sort, and I was always also really into sports. Really into sports. Our local teams here, lifelong suffering Cubs fan up until 2016 when they finally somehow won the World Series.
Yeah. So just quick aside, my grown kids, got my wife and I, 2019 Christmas, the ballpark a year trip.
Oh, right? Yeah.
So they send you to the ballpark. We were supposed to do Sox at Cubs, Red Sox at Cubs, and the pandemic screwed that up. So.
Bummer. Well,
we think they're coming back next year.
Yeah.
Actually, Sox at Cubs is supposed to happen in 2022.
That would be fun. I'm a big Fenway fan. I think in terms of old school parks, Fenway and Wrigley rule the roost by far. I love Fenway. It's got all those.
Well, they've done a lot of cool stuff to upgrade it while keeping it old.
Yeah.
Storied.
Yes. That's what if we were there a couple of years ago for my son's. I took him for his college graduation, and just the way it's set into the neighborhood like that. I love it.
It is cool. For anybody that's not been there, make the trip. And I should be able to say that in the summer of 2022 about Wrigley. So we'll see.
Cool.
Why did you decide to major in political science? And also, as part of that answer, why Michigan?
Why Michigan? When I was a freshman in high school, my sister was a freshman at Michigan. This is before the days of parents taking kids on
Right.
college trips.
Exactly.
College advisors. Like,
Yeah.
she was a freshman in college. I was a freshman in high school. I went up for a football game.
Oh,
Can't tell you the details, Kevin, because certain things happened. But suffice to say, after that weekend, I said, I'm going to college here. That was a lot of fun. I'm going here. So Michigan football, another stadium. If you've never been to the Big House, it's quite the experience.
I've heard.
And my parents were good with it because it was close enough. They didn't want me to go too far. So Ann Arbor's, I think, one of the best, if not the best college town in America. I'm a little biased. Political science, really, because it was the major that afforded me the most flexibility in taking other humanities classes. You needed the fewest number of credits in political science compared to other degrees. So I was able to take creative writing classes, film classes. Like, for some reason, I didn't feel like being an English major would have been responsible to the money that we were spending for my education. Oddly enough, my son was an English major at Michigan many years later, but it enabled me to spread my wings a little bit educationally, to learn a lot of things about a lot of different humanities related things. It didn't mean that I took any science or math classes, because I would have failed them within seconds of walking in the door of the first class.
So here's the next question. How did you get from Poli Sci to marketing?
Jordy Krimstein was a friend.
Enough said. Next question. No, go ahead.
A Chicago legend who's not with us anymore. Chicago ad legend, sorry, who's not with us anymore. Who's a friend of the family. And back then, I will say that, like, friends of the family were more able to get jobs back then, maybe. And basically, he knew I was a writer. He said, you want to give the ad business a shot. My dad was an electrical contractor. I spent a summer on the trucks driving around Chicago, dropping off materials to different job sites, and quickly realized that electrical contracting was not going to be in my future.
Okay.
His friend Jordy said, come check out advertising. And I was given a shot. And I, after almost getting fired within the first week or two in my first job, I fell asleep one day on the job in my desk in my Carol.
Just to be clear, we shouldn't do that.
This would be one mistake you should try to avoid, Kevin.
Okay.
While we're on the subject of mistakes you should not make, don't fall asleep at work.
That's funny. Unless you're a sleep technician or a mattress tester or something. Right?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably places like that would be a good idea. I was not a mattress tester, nor was I a sleep technician. I think I was a sleep purveyor. I was a purveyor of sleep. But after I survived not getting fired that one time, I was on my way.
So is that Campbell Mithun, if I'm pronouncing that correctly?
Very close. Campbell Mithun, which is ad agencies, they come and go. So that one I think is long gone.
So as you think back, I know it's a long time ago, and I want to take you up through your, I don't want to spend a ton of time on those early jobs, but I do want to ask, what's a key lesson learned, serious lesson learned from that position?
Well, other than not falling asleep on the job.
Yeah.
Be a sponge, be stupid, be stupid and be a sponge. Like, I try to tell my kids, like, this is your opportunity to be stupid. You can't be stupid your whole life in your career, but you can be stupid early on, and you can ask all those stupid questions that you don't know the answers to yet. Don't be afraid to ask those questions. People coming out of school, they've been to college, their friends have these amazing jobs, and they're this job, and they're thinking to themselves, I shouldn't ask this question. I should know the answer to this. I'll look stupid if I ask this question. It'll look like I wasn't listening or paying attention or whatever. All that's malarkey. Like, ask those stupid questions early on. Otherwise, when someone comes to you for an answer and you don't know the answer because you didn't ask the questions, they're going to be like, why weren't you more informed? So really take that, it's called the blessing of naivete. It's like, use that to your advantage to learn when you're earlier in your career.
That's great advice. I love the sound of that. All right, Danny, believe it or not, we're going to take our first break right here. Everybody, we'll be back with Danny Schuman right after this. He's writer, marketing strategist, brand storyteller, and founder and head twister at Twist. You'll find out about that.
You're listening to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan on W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. Don't go away. More helpful information is coming right up, right here on Winning Business Radio.
Hey everyone, I'm Jimmy Star, the king of cool and your host of the Jimmy Star Show, the entertainment radio show for all you cool and unique people looking to get a behind-the-scenes peek at what's going on in the entertainment industry. Listen in as me and my cool crowd of co-hosts bring you celebrity guests, new music, and the good times in fashion, entertainment, and pop culture. Right, everybody? Right! Tune in live Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on W4CY.com.
Hey, this is Kenny Wayne Shepherd, and you're listening to W4CY Radio.
Hey, this is Rebel Mother. Join me for In Your Face on W4CY.com, Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Bestian Wealth Management is a second-generation, family-owned financial planning and wealth advisory firm. In addition to coordinating complex business and personal planning needs, our firm takes a sincere interest in your well-being and personal values. Find us at bestgenwm.com. That's bestgenwm.com, where we consider all our clients an extension of our family. Advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, a registered investment advisor.
And now back to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan, presenting exciting topics and expert guests with one goal in mind, to help you succeed in business. Here once again is Kevin Hallinan.
We're back with Danny Schuman, writer, marketing strategist, brand storyteller, and the founder and head twister at Twist. So, Danny, walk us through the next couple of jobs, Bayer, Bass, FCB Chicago, and Element 79, and pull out, if you could, maybe a story here and there, or at least some key takeaways that helped you get to where you are today.
Sure. I mean, I the first one I would say is I worked for another kind of ad legend in Chicago named Bernie Pitzel. Bernie Pitzel wrote "Be Like Mike." He wrote that commercial. Wow. Yeah, he wrote those lyrics. So he was my first boss, and he was a legend for a lot of reasons. He had long gray hair. He had a big long cowboy duster and cowboy boots that he used to wear around, and a bolo tie. And
no kidding.
He loved to not work, which was fun for a 22-year-old working for him. But I showed allegiance to him. Like I committed to him as a young person. I saw him as someone, I don't know if I knew why he was doing it at the time, but I knew that it was the right thing to do at the time. And, insanely and wonderfully enough, I was kind of rewarded when a couple of years later, he left the agency to go to a different agency. That was to leave Campbell Methuen and go to Bayer Best to work on Gatorade. They hired him to work on Gatorade. And the first thing he did was to write "Be Like Mike" for Michael Jordan and for Gatorade. And he brought me with him. And it was another good lesson for me to, if not for me kind of really showing allegiance to him, and kind of pick sides a little bit, to be honest, because there were other creative directors that I could have kind of gone with. And not knowing what was coming in the future, I cast my lot with Bernie, and he brought me to Bayer Best Vanderwerker a couple of years later to work on Gatorade.
And you met Michael Jordan.
And so I met Michael Jordan. Yeah, I was on. So my first day on working on Gatorade was the "Be Like Mike" shoot, and I didn't get anywhere near Michael Jordan. That came later in my career. He was very, very, very well protected by his handlers and by his agents and everybody. But the first day on Gatorade was being on the "Be Like Mike" shoot, which is, for a young guy, that was pretty incredible.
For sure.
And then over the next almost 20 years, I followed Gatorade around from one agency to the next agency to the next agency. I was one of a large group of people who worked on a bunch of Quaker businesses, including Gatorade. And because of the way the agency mergers work sometimes, we kind of would just pick up and go to another agency and pick up and go to another agency. And then because of conflicts, another agency was created for us to work on those Quaker brands.
So same desk, or different desk, same pencil holder and pictures.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Different address, basically up and down Michigan Avenue here in Chicago. And a lot of the same people and a lot of the same clients. It was a wonderful, again, it taught me the lessons of loyalty and allegiance. They used to talk about people who drank the Kool-Aid on Gatorade, people who really, really committed to the brand and really believed in the brand. And I don't know if that sounds silly or Pollyannic, but like I really believed in the brand. I believed in the people who I worked with, and I thought that like we were kind of doing something together, and it's like from a marketing perspective, you can just go through the motions and just write ads, and maybe this is true for other careers too. Or you can really believe in the product that you're working on. You can believe who the people who you're working with, and like form relationships and friendships and bonds. And it did just lead to good relationships. It led to good business. I mean, it led to us caring about the businesses that we were working on and doing good work for them.
So I want to get to that peanut butter jelly boy story. That was along that path somewhere, right? Because it was Gatorade.
Yeah. So Michael Jordan, like I said, his agents and handlers protected him, like he was just the most, gentle and fragile thing, which, the guy, as awesome as he was, I've always felt sorry for him because he could never be normal. He could never walk out of his front door. And I asked him once, what would be a perfect day for you and your family? And he said, to go to McDonald's with my family.
He was at the Ryder Cup over the weekend, and
really?
Every once in a while they'd cut to him with his sunglasses. I don't think he was trying to, be anonymous, but it looked like he might have achieved a little bit of that because nobody seemed to be bothering him. He was enjoying it. He smiled,
That's good. I mean, it's so hard for him to achieve anonymity. So on the shoot, you really were not allowed to approach him whatsoever. People would get fired off the crew for approaching him, for asking for an autograph, even just for talking to him. So for many years, I barely even got to have any contact with him. Yeah. But over time, I know this sounds crazy and probably unbelievable, but he and I kind of connected on a strange level. We're literally 2 months apart in age. Same birth year, 2 months apart. I mean, both get like big sports fans and kind of, whatever. So he kind of took a liking to me and we kind of hit it off. And so whenever the client had something that they didn't want to ask him to do, like some really annoying thing, they would call me and say, can you come over? We're shooting this video with Michael. He's just not going to want to do it. We need you to do it. And he'd always say, Danny, why the bleep do I have to do this? But okay, fine. One take. And then he'd read one take and I'd say, oh, that was really good. He goes, yeah, it was perfect. I'm done. I was like, no, we need one more thing. We just need one more thing. So anyway, one shoot day, when I used to be out of town for a couple of weeks at a time for a shoot, and after many, many amazing dinners that I didn't have to pay for, which was awesome, I started to just crave like a bowl of cereal or just like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So one day at the craft service table where you could find every known amazing, delicious food known to man and womankind, I started making myself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And he just thought that was the funniest thing on the planet. Like a grown man making a peanut butter jelly sandwich. It didn't really matter what it was. He was just looking to get an advantage on me. He was so competitive. Like anything he could do to blow you, or to give you the business, he would do. So from then on, he just called me, hey, peanut butter jelly boy.
Not many people can say that, right? All right. Talk to me about, or us, I should say, about Twist Your Thinking.
Yeah.
You founded the company in 2009. And by the way, I have a quick question. This is, to me, it's funny. Is it Head Twister or Head Twister?
Very good, Kevin. Well done. It's both.
It's both.
That is both. I'm the head twister and the head twister. So it's both things. Twist was created January of 2009, which, as you recall, wasn't the best of economic times.
No, it was not.
But kind of like going with the theory of, me having absolutely no formal business training, never have taken a business class, and really no actual business acumen to speak of, I decided to start a business.
Perfect. What could go wrong?
Absolutely nothing. But going back to when I was with Gatorade and created friendships and relationships with them, when it was time for me to start this business in January 2009, I gave those people a call. They weren't at Gatorade anymore. They were at Kraft, and they were at Conagra, and they were at Miller Coors, and they were at Mars. And I said, I basically, not those words, but I don't have a clue what I'm doing. Do you have any like little scraps?
Yeah, morsels
that you could throw my way? And they said, yeah, I got, this little project, that little project. So I just kind of really, I guess in real entrepreneurial form, just kind of figured it out as I went. Benefited from the generosity of many, many really smart and helpful people who taught me and gave me all kinds of amazing resources and lessons and time. And that was 13 years ago. I have no idea what's happened the past 13 years, but I'm still
It's a blur.
It's kind of a blur.
Little bit of advice for somebody starting out on their own. And here's, before you answer, my sense is there's a little bit of risk involved, right? There's definitely some fear involved. So maybe if you experienced those things, talk about it.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, the risk is palpable. I mean, the fear is huge. I think that you need to try to be able to ride out the ups and the downs. I mean, if you can do that through the ups and the downs, if you can just maintain equilibrium, and you need a gut, you need a gut of steel to be able to withstand some of the ups and downs. Because I've had very, very amazingly great years, and I've had a couple bumpy years, and you just have to kind of withstand the storms. In terms of risk and fear, it's real, Kevin. And again, like I got a lot of help from a lot of people, which is hugely instrumental. I had a coach who helped coach me through these many years, who, again, I probably could not have done this without him, to remind me of like what I'm good at and to help me get unstuck and work through barriers and through patterns and habits and behaviors that were holding me back. Was hugely instrumental. So you developed some clients, you made the call. By the way, I love hearing that you made calls. Right. You reached out. Yeah. I mean, that's what I did when I started with Winning Incorporated, part of Sandler Training. No, I mean, I knew tons of people, but nobody knew what I was doing. So I just let them know. Right. Yeah. I mean, I was the busiest unemployed person in Chicago for months. Yeah. There wasn't a day that I didn't have a coffee and a lunch and an afternoon meeting. And man, I spent a lot of money on lunches and coffees with no income coming in, trusting that it would all lead to somewhere good. And that's what and I talked to everybody. It didn't matter if they were in my business or not. Some of the best people I talked to were in sales. Some of the very best people I talked to were in sales because they had such a different perspective than me. And, they told me such great things like, get there. If you're not there on time, then you're late. Or if you're not there early, then you're late. Early's on time. On time is late. And ask for the business. Yeah. It's another, ask for the business. Don't be shy about it. Because I didn't know what I was doing. And about charging money. It's like this, in my book, I have this whole chapter around, when you're estimating projects, whatever you think the fee should be, double it. And then you're probably more like in the right ballpark. And I learned that from a lot of smart people too. And they really helped me survive. Yeah. A lot of entrepreneurs don't charge what they're worth. They charge what fear drives them to think they can get. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's something that I've embraced called value pricing, which is what's it worth? What's it worth to the client? Not just how much will it cost me to do, but also what's it worth to the client, and then trying to find a good balance. So tell us about the business. Twist is a marketing consultancy. It's called Twist because we put a creative twist on strategy. So I'm a creative. I mean, not to sound pompous, but like people from agency backgrounds who are a writer and art director were called creatives with a capital C. So I'm a creative. I don't have any business background necessarily, but I've learned over the past dozen years, and especially I learned a lot on strategy from my Gatorade clients back in the day. They were really generous, even when I was still on the agency side, to learn stuff that most creatives didn't want to learn. They didn't want to have any part of. I thought it was interesting. So I learned the strategic side of the business. So most marketing strategists are not agency side creatives. They're usually account people or business majors or business MBAs, whatever. So I bring this words, writer, creative perspective to marketing strategy. So when it comes to helping a client tell their brand story clearly, consistently, compellingly, in a way that differentiates from competitors, that's at the heart of what I do. And I do it for nonprofits. Sorry. No. Finish that thought. I do it for nonprofits. I do it for small businesses. I do it for big businesses. There really isn't any vertical or size business that is especially good for me. Excellent. We're going to come right back to that. It's time for our second break. Okay. We'll be back just a couple minutes, everybody, with Danny Schuman.
You're listening to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan on W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. Don't go away. More helpful information is coming right up, right here on Winning Business Radio.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show? Well, W4CY Radio makes dreams come true. You can be a radio personality on the #1 ranked internet radio station in West Palm Beach, Florida. We can be heard in 105 countries and all U.S. states. Promote your business, earn up to $10,000 per month and more. It's all up to you. Have fun and be heard. Call 561-506-4031. That's 561-506-4031. Start your radio show now.
Hey, this is Rebel Medler. Join me for In Your Face on W4CY.com, Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Bestian Wealth Management is a second-generation, family-owned financial planning and wealth advisory firm. In addition to coordinating complex business and personal planning needs, our firm takes a sincere interest in your well-being and personal values. Find us at bestgenwm.com. That's bestgenwm.com, where we consider all our clients an extension of our family. Advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, a registered investment advisor.
Hey, this is Johnny Three Tears from Hollywood Undead, and you're listening to W4CY Radio.
I do whatever it takes to make it break through. Anything I'm face to face with, it's true.
And now back to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan, presenting exciting topics and expert guests with one goal in mind, to help you succeed in business. Here once again is Kevin Hallinan.
And we're back with Danny Schuman, writer, marketing strategist, brand storyteller, founder and head twister at Twist.
Exactly.
So what kind of problems do you solve for your clients, Danny?
I would say the consistent thing that I solve for clients is that they're not being consistent and clear in the way that they're articulating who they are and why they exist on the planet. There's a great, if you're familiar with Simon Sinek and his Golden Circle.
Sure.
Yeah. So just, I'm a big believer in helping people in businesses find their why. Like, at the heart of a business strategy is a why. It's a mission, it's a vision, and it's their values. And it's kind of like the building their foundation. So the thing that, when clients value it, it's awesome. Not all clients either have the time or money or interest in doing it, but when they take time to create their foundation, why they exist, what their values are, what their long-term goals are, we can start to really create a messaging platform from them, aka like how they tell people what they do and why people should engage with them.
They can be products, services, they can be big, small, they can be B2B, B2C, they can be anywhere, right?
Yes. I mean, the one thing in there, the B2B, B2C, some people will say that B2B businesses are different and that you need a certain or special kind of marketing or a different approach. And I disagree. I think it's almost always the same challenge. Yes, the customer base is very different. Businesses and consumers very different. But the bottom line is, Kevin, I mean, it's still a message that you're trying to get people to understand, to convince them that you are a certain way so that they will engage with you and hopefully go down the funnel to being loyal to you. So pretty much yes to everything you just said.
Yeah, it's similar to selling, right? I mean, our business is different, or our industry is different, or no, those are concerned. Well, once you learn how to effectively sell, you can sell to any segment. Yes, there are differences. You can sell big, small, but once you learn to do that, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, I wonder about how you feel about actually knowing less sometimes is better. Because when I can come in objectively, and not subjectively,
right,
it's much better for the client.
And if you ask the right questions, you'll learn what you need to learn.
Well, yeah. So that's, and again, I think you didn't ask, but you just asked. So the key to my success, I think, and what I do is asking good questions and listening really, 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 really well and actively. Yeah.
Can you describe a typical engagement? It seems to me, at least from what you've said, they tend to be longer relationships?
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends what the client wants. So, and sometimes bigger clients take longer because they just have more people and smaller clients, it'll be like one or two people. So the process takes a lot less time, but, it's a simple process, and it's not proprietary or unique necessarily. And again, I bet you'll relate to this. There's a lot of data gathering, right? So it could be many different forms. It could be quantitative data if they have it. It could be online research of their competitors and themselves. A lot of stakeholder interviews, a lot of talking to people. Like that's where the gold is in my mind. I'm not a big numbers guy, so the quant I don't really use as much, but the qualitative research, the data gathering by talking to people, so often the answer is not in my brain, but it's in theirs. So that if I ask really good questions, listen really well, and take really good notes, oftentimes I'm playing back stuff to them that's the answers to their problems, and it's really coming from them and not me. So data gathering, aggregating all that data, and then sifting through it, right? It's a little bit of the whole Russell Crowe, beautiful mind, putting stuff on the wall, getting rid of the stuff that starts to feel irrelevant or less necessary or less important, and really honing in on those things that start making connections with each other, right? And honing in on those things, and then kind of pulling those things together. Like once you distill down the information, there's a little bit of art and science here, so this part's a little hard to describe.
Yeah.
But here's where a little bit of the experience and magic comes in too. Being able to see the connections and then from those connections create the words, like create the sentences, the paragraphs, the basis of the strategic foundation, the basis that creates the strategic foundation.
So you have multiple coaching certifications. Where does that fit? Where do they fit, I should say?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. So like I said, I had a coach for many, many years, and he inspired me to kind of help people the way that he has helped me. So 4, 5, 6 years ago, I started getting different coach trainings and certifications from CTI, Coactive Training Institute. I'm accredited by the International Coach Federation, and I have a coaching practice along with my marketing business. It's extremely fulfilling to be able to help people, ambitious people, young people, older people. I feel like they go together because it's when it comes down to it, it's all about telling your story. And so for a brand, it's about telling their story. For a person, it's about telling their authentic story. And like, that's really important for people to know who they are. And again, I talked about a brand knowing who they are. Coaching is a lot about helping people know who they are. And coaching also, I think the single most distinct goal of coaching is to reframe for people, help people reframe and help them see one situation differently. It's not all that different from marketing. It's like if people are thinking about your brand or product or service this way, and you want them to think about it this way, like how do you get them there? So that's the way they're connected. The challenge is finding enough time to do both.
Yeah. Is there overlap in the client base, or is it completely separate?
Separate.
Yeah.
And I think probably good to keep separate too, to be honest. Yeah.
So you've worked with some big brands in the past. I want to get into your book, and we'll give that a good 10 minutes.
Okay.
But can you just mention one? It doesn't have to be iconic or anything like that, but just maybe it's a fun project you worked on, a case study.
A fun case study. Well, they're all fun to me, but I mean, my current client, Bath Fitter. Shout out to my current,
yes, you told me.
They're in Montreal. They're just amazing people, really smart, and they challenge us, and we challenge them respectfully both ways. What was really great about this project was that they had a pretty darn good foundation, but they just didn't think it was good enough. Which is pretty amazing, actually. So they called an outside, resource to help them, make it great and to just make it super purposeful and awesome. And that's where we started with them. So we helped them come up with their basic foundational strategy, basically build on what they have. And then we got to make stuff, which was awesome. Commercials, videos, all the social channels, digital channels, print, direct mail, everything. And the amazing, wonderful thing is through our partnership, their business has really been doing well. They've been showing very positive results in market. And we're super proud of the work. They're very proud of the work. And more than anything else, I'm proud of the relationship. There might have been not have been the most fun, sexy story, but for a marketer, that's the best.
No, that's good. I love it. No, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. I want to ask about the book, The Worst Business. I love the title, Worst Business Model in the World, subtitle, A New Kind of Guide for a New Kind of Entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Why did you write it?
Well, I'm a writer, so I always wanted to write a book.
Yep.
And then I just had it. It was something that I'd been collecting. I was again. Here's the same thing. For years, collecting stuff, little scraps of paper, notes on my laptop, articles, and I knew it was leading somewhere. I just didn't know where. And at some point, it kind of fizzled out, and I actually started writing a different book, which I've never written.
Yeah.
In the middle of writing that book, which is really just an okay book, to be honest. In the middle of the night, literally in the middle of the night, in my underwear, I got out of bed, and I have a pad of paper by my bed, and I just started I know this sounds like I'm making this up, but I swear to God, it's true. I just started writing, and like my eyes were closed, and I was like writing down the page, just hoping that I wasn't writing over other words.
Or on the table, because your mom would be mad.
Or on the table, or on my hand, or whatever. And I woke up in the morning, and lo and behold, it actually made sense. It wasn't hieroglyphics, and it was literally, probably, honestly, about 30 to 40% of my book.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's like Jackie Mason said, it took him 25 years to become an overnight sensation.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I love that line.
All that information made it possible for me to spend those, that hour or so standing in my underwear in the dark in the middle of the night.
So a couple of interesting things I want to ask about. You have two terms that I got a kick of. UDOT, it's us doing our thing.
Yes.
Right? And we'll start there. Where'd you come up with that?
Well, I like acronyms. It helps people remember things.
Yeah.
And so UDOTs, us doing our thing, describes the target audience for this book, who are entrepreneurs who don't necessarily want to be the next Mark Zuckerberg. They just want to be, as I say in the book, the first, just be the first you. And they like what they do. They're passionate about it. They care about it. They're really good at it. And that's what they want to do. And they want to do it well. And that's what they want to spend their time doing. They aren't necessarily the most, like me, business-minded people in the world. So they need some help. And this book was, after I got a lot of help from other people, this book was an effort to help UDOTs make their way in the world.
Okay. I would pronounce this woo. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it.
That's exactly
W-U-W. Okay. It looks right. Ways UDOTs win. And I want to ask you about some of those.
Yeah. So there's ways UDOTs win. There's basically 5 chapters in the book, right? I haven't looked at my book in a while, so hopefully I remember them all.
Trust yourself. Go ahead.
Yes. Trust yourself. Trust the world.
Yep.
Share.
Yep.
Do it and enjoy it. I try to keep things really, really simple. So ways UDOTs win is the first 2 are the things that UDOTs and humans in general do the least of, which is trusting themselves and trusting the world.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a firm belief, and I've kind of gotten this from my being coached and coaching other people, that, one of the chapters is called There's Always Something Around the Corner. And there is. And the way that happens is that you believe that it will. And there's no empirical proof for this whatsoever. There's no studies. There's no data. There's only firsthand interviews from lots and lots and lots of successful entrepreneurs who basically say, if you don't, and then maybe there's a sales thing in here too, Kevin. If you do believe it's going to happen, it's far more likely that it's going to happen.
Well, there is. We talk about, we actually measure for a person's outlook, right? And we talk about the abundance mindset and the scarcity mindset. Those you can measure.
Yes, exactly. Another great resource is Carol Dweck's book, Mindset.
Yes, Mindset.
Growth mindset and the fixed mindsets.
Right.
And this book is very much comes from a growth mindset perspective. And that's what trusting the world and trusting yourself is all about. It's like, what do you believe? Do you feel like the world is for you or against you? And a lot of people have a fixed mindset, and they believe that the world is against them. And with a growth mindset, you trust the world. And by the way, you still work your ass off.
Sure.
You still like sweat, you don't just trust the world that things will come to you and not do anything. You have to make, again, the old adage, the cliche, but you have to make your luck. You have to put in the work.
Well, I'm sure you've heard it, and I'm sure many others too, but I just love the quote. I repeat it, not all the time, but often enough. Whether, Henry Ford's famous quote, not the one about the car color. That's a funny one. But he said, whether you can or you can't, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. It's totally true.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a big part of, I love that. And that's a big part of this book. It's really, to be honest, it's a book for entrepreneurs, but it's also a coaching book. It's also a book by a coach, and it's coaching people. And that's actually, it's had that result for a lot of people, to coach them, like to give them confidence and and skills too, but confidence. It's like you said before about how so many entrepreneurs and people in general undervalue themselves and don't charge enough. It's like just to give them that's the do it part. The share part, by the way, is getting help. It's getting help when you need it. And once you get to a place where you know stuff, sharing it with other people.
Yeah, I want to get to that too, because I know you do some lecturing and some teaching. Talk about do it and enjoy it.
Yeah. So do it is getting off your butt. and again, that's not easily done by a lot of people.
Sure.
So there's a couple tips in the book about how to start doing it. Some of it involves making lists and charts and stuff, which I'm not naturally inclined to do. Simple, like contact lists, people who you've been in touch with, person's name, the date you were in touch with them, the date they got back to you, the date you need to get back in touch with them, and any notes. That's it. Those 5 things. Like anything beyond that would probably make my head explode. That's why I could never use Salesforce or anything like it. Sorry, Salesforce is a sponsor of your show. I don't know.
No.
But keep it simple. Like if you have a hard time doing it, keep it simple and try to do some very simple things to help you do it. And then enjoy it. It's just about, if you've put in the work, take the time to enjoy it. There's a line in the book. I don't remember exactly what it is about, but if you can spend all that time trying to find your way to the moon, make sure you spend some time bouncing around up there. It's like, if those of us out here who maybe don't have 9-to-5 jobs and who don't work for big companies, or people who do, especially now in the more remote economy, it's like, take time. You're putting in the work. Take time to recognize your effort and to celebrate whether they're your achievements or at least your hard work. Because again, that's intention too. And if you do that celebration and you do enjoy it, I think the world notices people who are optimistic and happy and like feeling good about things. And I think good things are returned to them. I agree.
Give us a plug for a second on why others should give back. You choose to mentor.
Why others should give back.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that you give away that doesn't someday wind up coming back to you. And I could not believe in that more. I've experienced it firsthand. I've given and received, and I've received and then given. And it's so important to set aside time to do that. And it's also important to not be afraid to ask. The best example I have, I think in my book also, is there's a woman who was the CFO of my old company, my last company, who actually fired me from my last company. And she has become my most trusted financial advisor.
Wow.
Every single proposal that I write, I finish the proposal, I leave the feline bank blank, and I send it to her. And she sends me back a number. And it's always significantly more than what I would have put there myself.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Danny, thank you so much for being here. What's the best way? Is Twist Your Thinking, the website we've had up, is that the best way for people to reach out?
Yeah, that's best and easiest way. twistyourthinking.com.
And they can get the book online, Amazon, still available?
Oh, yeah. It's on Amazon, Kindle, any form you want to read it, it's there for you.
Perfect. The worst business model in the world. I love the title again. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much, Kevin. I so appreciate your time.
Oh, you got it. And listen, thanks everybody for watching and listening. This is a show about business and business challenges. If you've got concerns about the growth of your business, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook or LinkedIn. There's a URL, winningbusinessradio.com. Or you can drop me a note, kevin@winningbusinessradio.com. That's one of my several email addresses. Our company is Winning Incorporated. We develop sales teams into high achievers and sales leaders into true coaches and mentors. Those of you know that might be familiar with our brand, we're part of Sandler Training. We're not right for everybody, but I would say if you think so, let's talk. We'll figure it out. Thank you to expert engineer Roxy. Tune in again next Monday, October 4th at 4 p.m. Eastern. My returning guest is going to be Danielle Lucido. We're going to check in on her journeys. If you've heard her before, you're going to enjoy this. If you haven't heard her before, you're going to enjoy it just as well. Until then, this is Kevin Hallinan.
You've been listening to Winning Business Radio with your host, Kevin Hallinan. If you missed any part of this episode, the podcast is available on Talk4 Podcasting and iHeartRadio. For more information and questions, go to winningbusinessradio.com or check us out on social media. Tune in again next week and every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time to listen live to Winning Business Radio on W4CY Radio, W4CY.com. Until then, let's succeed where others have failed and win in business with Kevin Hallinan and Winning Business Radio.